Hello, friends and family of the internet and fellow watchers on the wall. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. We're going to break this up. We're going to talk about Arizona and we're going to talk about California. We're even going to talk about Louisiana and what's happening with the freshwater supplies. So, for most people, if you don't live a homesteading or farming lifestyle, you don't really think about where your food comes from very much. It's not high on your list, right? It's just, I'm hungry and there's food. But we need to go back a little bit, folks, and we need to talk about the situation that America's moving into that most of you living your everyday life have no clue it's coming. And that is a severe water shortage. Now, why? In a country as big as America, with as many natural resources as we have, why is there a freshwater supply issue? It depends on where you live and what you're dealing with. First, we're going to start with Arizona. But let me say this to you guys. What concerns me the most is that we are still propping up mega corporate farms. Farms that maybe in the 1800s or the early 1900s when it was established, that was a great place to put a pistachio farm. Fast forward to 2025, and it's not working out so great. So we are going to have to rethink our food industry. We're going to have to rethink how we subsidize these large farms. Yeah, I know. A lot of people right now like, oh, Sam, can't believe you said that. The thing is that we have propped up a type of farming that is not sustainable. We've propped up monocropped farms full of toxins that use way too much water, that till everything. And it's not working anymore. But what is going to happen in the long run is we're not going to have food, folks. And he who controls the food controls the people. This is a really serious issue. But what makes me so mad is how mainstream media twist the story. They always go back to blaming it on, everybody say it together, climate change. When we both know it is poor decisions by our elected officials that have led to this moment. In fact, I would even go as far to say we might be able to save these family farms of thousands of acres, even placed in a not so great area, if we would make better decisions with the water that we have. We're going to discuss dumping water into the ocean, fresh water. We're going to discuss how foreign countries are coming here growing high water crops and then shipping them back to their countries using our water. We're going to talk about AI centers being placed in the most insane places and our politicians allowing that, further stressing the amount of water that's available to people. It just doesn't make any flipping sense, folks. If you didn't know, published a book, Growing Under a Poison Sky. Actually bump into some of these topics in here. CAFO systems, bad, right? We talk about how tilling the soil is what led to the Great Dust Bowl, and we're leading up to another one in places like Arizona. So look for that book, Growing Under a Poison Sky. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on eBay. You can find it everywhere. Even Walmart online has it. So I hope some of you will get that book. It's an introductory book. Anybody can read it, even your kids in high school, and give you the basic knowledge that you need for all the things coming in our future. Let's start with Arizona.
Summer of extremes, scorching heat, sweeping dust storms, and megafires burning across the Southwest. Climate disasters, putting a strain on the already dwindling Colorado River, 1,400 miles of life-sustaining flow for 40 million people. But as the river's water level drops, there's a new crisis emerging, one you can't even see.
It's a train wreck waiting to happen.
I think it's extremely dire.
If the water's not affordable, then there's nothing.
In the small desert town of Wendon, Arizona, the ground itself is literally collapsing.
In the last 15 years, Wendon itself has sunk into a subsidence bowl. We've sunk over 3.5 feet. We sink at another 2.2 inches per year. This is a wellhead.
Gary Sater knows this firsthand. As chairman and general manager of Wendon's water district, he's responsible for keeping the town's taps flowing. But with no access to the Colorado River, Wendon relies entirely on groundwater, a supply that's now being drained faster than it can recharge.
It's absolutely out of balance. It's not sustainable.
Experts say the biggest impact comes from agriculture. Massive farms pumping thousands of gallons a minute for crops like alfalfa with almost no oversight. One study from Arizona State University says nearly 80% of Arizona has no groundwater regulations at all, and corporate farms don't have to report what they take. When a well runs dry, they just drill deeper. There's no way to know how much water is even left. That lack of oversight hits small businesses like Rob McDermott's RV park. The groundwater here keeps the taps running for dozens of trailer spots.
Have you calculated how much you have to take out to run a business like this?
So I generally, during the peak time, I'll use about 4,000 gallons a day.
Okay. Wow.
But when nearby overpumping dried out his well, McDermott faced a painful choice: no more water, or
We had to drill a new well. So we're at an 800-foot well, previously a 620-foot well. So, and the cost of it, $120,000. It's pretty tough to absorb that.
a recent ASU study using NASA satellites found the state has lost nearly 9 trillion gallons of groundwater in the last 20 years. They say climate change is only expected to make things worse.
The inability of mainstream media and reporters to speak truth is just mind-blowing to me. They have a narrative, right? It's all part of Project Mockingbird. They are told that everything has to come from this narrative. What is happening in Arizona? Let's really talk about what is actually happening in Arizona. How about this?
West's first major water crisis. They're going to have a big water crisis. There's going to be some water wars. They're coming. Arizona cities respond to the worst drought in over 1,000 years with a new plan. What's their new plan? Severe drought and mandatory water cuts. Sounds like the plan. Are pitting communities against each other in Arizona. But don't they have aquifers and water underneath that was laid down 80,000 years ago that they could use? What are they doing with that water? Oh, they're giving it to Saudi Arabia at a discount. That's what they're doing. Saudi water deal threatening water supply in Phoenix. This is real. So Arizona is leasing farmland to Saudi water company, straining aquifers and threatening future water supply. And Fondamonte, a Saudi company, grows alfalfa, and then they export the alfalfa to the Middle East to feed their cows.
Here it is. So we have foreign agents coming to our country because it's illegal to grow alfalfa in Saudi Arabia because it is a water intensive crop. Folks, listen to me. You can put plants anywhere you want. Some plants grow well with just a little bit of water. Some plants, like alfalfa, rice, cotton, even pistachios, are extremely water intensive. So you're in a semi-arid environment. I mean, basically a desert. And you've got thousands of acres of alfalfa being grown. Now, and I'm talking organic alfalfa, beautiful alfalfa. I've seen it. They cut it, they transport it to do what? Feed their cows in the Middle East. What about American farmers? Okay.
Yeah, the country has practically exhausted its own underground aquifers. In Arizona, Fondamonte can pump as much water as it wants at no cost. Groundwater is unregulated in most rural areas of the state. Fondamonte pays only $25 per acre annually. The state land department says the market rate is $50 per acre, and it provides a 50% discount because it doesn't pay for improvements.
And I'm going to say this, you will find that the Middle East has its hands in multiple government agencies here in America lots of governors, a lot of Congress. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. Yeah. All right, let's talk about California.
Well, the latest U.S. drought monitor shows nearly 40% of California is facing drought. And this is typically a time of year where they don't see a lot of rainfall. But California farmers say the bigger issue is the state's man-made drought. And California's water crisis is coming at a cost to both farmers and consumers, as we show you in this week's Farm Journal report. In the heart of the Central Valley of California, Eric Hansen is the 5th generation to farm this fertile ground.
So we farm 15, 16 different crops, anywhere from pistachios, almonds, cotton is our biggest acreage.
Diversifying what they grow is how the Hansens have weathered the highs and the lows of farming here.
Let me make a point. You just heard what he said. Every one of the crops he just mentioned are water intensive crops. So on average, they take about 4 times the amount of water as say just growing something like okra and field peas and red beans and snap beans and even tomatoes.
One of the biggest challenges came in the spring of 2023.
Okay, where we're standing right now, was this underwater?
No, so about a mile, slightly more than a mile away from here, that was the edge of the lake.
But I mean, it was a massive hit when it happened, because how many of your acres total did you have underwater?
Total about 5,000 to 6,000 acres.
Gosh, all underwater.
Yeah,
And some of that water lasted how long?
for over a year.
What's so ironic is water caused catastrophe in 2023, and now it's not having access to water in the state that could cripple some farms, ultimately pushing this fertile farm ground out of production.
I think the last projections I've heard would anywhere from 1.1 million to 1.2 million acres total in the valley.
That frustration over fallow farm ground is a result of the latest water regulation to now go into effect. It's called the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA. It's a state law passed in 2014 requiring local agencies to create and implement plans to achieve sustainable groundwater use by the year 2040.
On paper, it sounds good. To some extent, it is good, because you really have to have a way to manage the overdraft of the groundwater. The problem is that there's surface water facilities that we developed back in the 50s and 60s that are available that we're just not using to the extent that we could. And so a lot of that water is going out to the Pacific Ocean.
You hear from other growers pretty frustrated about what this will mean. Mm-hmm. As a farmer yourself, are you frustrated about SGMA, or are you in the camp that we had to do something?
I'm frustrated because the families that have been farming here for years, some decades, sometimes even more, are being fitted with a bill for problems that somebody else created.
As a result of SGMA and
I wonder if he understands what he truly just said. The decisions we make today, our children will be fitted with the bill, whether they created the problems or not. Look at Social Security. None of you created that problem. Our elected officials did. But it's going to be our children who face life retiring from work without that safety net. It won't be there by then. It simply can't. It's out of money. So when I look at this, I understand the frustration. You have 1 million acres. You've got 100,000 acres of farmland. Look at that. Look on your screen right now. Let me tell you 2 things I see with this. That is dead. You know why it's dead? Because it's exposed to the sun. It's dry. Do you know how food is grown, friends and family of the internet? It takes bacteria and fungi in the soil to actually properly grow food. To grow in an environment like this, where the soil is so tilled that it is powder, water cannot absorb in that. So no matter how much they put water on top of something like that, it's just going to flood, it's going to run off, it's going to stand in a puddle, because they have destroyed what is called soil aggregates. I want you to think about a piece of bread. Okay, if you pour water on a slice of bread, most of it's going to be absorbed by the bread. And what little bit comes off is going to be just water. It's going to be clear, right? That is what, in your mind, I want you to think of soil aggregates like. Now, think of a big pile of powder, white powder, flour. If you pour water, and I hope all of you do this because it's a lot of fun. If you take a cup of flour and set it on a pie sheet, then take a half a cup of water and pour it on top. Once you finish pouring the water, you'll notice there's dough in the center. And if you move that off, all the flour underneath is totally dry. It couldn't be absorbed. The water could not be absorbed into the flour. Why is that, Sam? Because there are no soil aggregates. That is what you're looking at. That soil right there, no matter how much water these people put on their crops, the majority of it's just evaporating before it absorbs. That is why I am against us propping up farms that have not figured that out yet. You cannot destroy the earth and continue to just think you can dump man-made chemicals and water on a plant and force it to grow. That right there is a travesty. That's a travesty.
Depending on if you're in an area that has access to irrigation water or not, farmers are being forced to leave land fallow just to have access to the water they need.
This is a pretty well-developed cluster.
Just 40 miles away, Elizabeth Keenan is one of those farmers battling the changes in water regulations, and she's just 30 years old.
Rolling with the regulatory punches can be complicated, so we have quite a few challenges as, number one, a small business, and number two, as an ag business in California. It's not a very business-friendly state. Despite pistachios being such a high-value product in the States, despite having optimal land and weather conditions to grow these pistachios, we really have everything set up beautifully, except for legislation.
Her grandpa saw seeds of opportunity acquiring this orchard in a real estate deal nearly 50 years ago. And today, this is one of the oldest pistachio orchards in California. But still, farming here is ripe with challenges.
Water's expensive. It's, tough working, especially in our water district, who are awesome people, but it's a tough district to work in. I think we're up to 50% allocation and the base.
I have said this so many times in the sustainable farming classes that I've taken. Wouldn't it be amazing if we let California keep its orchards, right? Its fruiting trees, and Louisiana take over all the row crops that California is famous for growing. You have states like Louisiana that we have everything. We have 10 months a year that we can grow warm to cool type crops. And we have a good 8.5 months a year that we can grow heat loving crops. We have pretty mild winters and we have plenty of water and we have amazing nutrient dense clay soil or river silt. Yet they keep letting hydrocarbon plants destroy our environments. But that's another story for another day. What I'm trying to say is California can't have it both ways. You've got so many people destroying the earth, thousands and thousands of acres to make it powdery soil because somehow they think that's the best way to plant. Leaving those fields fallow is the best thing they can do. First thing is nature never leaves the soil bare. You saw those fallow fields. First thing you noticed was stuff was starting to grow again. And it's going to be the shrubs. It's going to be the crappy plants. It's going to be weeds by most people's estimations. But there's a reason. Look at this. Okay, this is how he likes his field.
Has access to irrigation water or not, farmers.
Look at that. Already life is coming back. Why is that? Because if you notice, you will never see bare soil unless man has done it. Or if, say, there's a tree growing there, nothing grows underneath. It's not natural. We fight nature every step of the way, and we call ourselves educated. It's just so very frustrating. But the real issue with California is that a lot of their water is being dumped into the ocean, almost 80%. It's all environmental. But let's talk about AI for a second. This is coming to you too. So don't think if you sat this far and you're not in Arizona or California, you might be thinking, why is she even showing the world this? Because AI is draining water from areas that need it most. This was May 8th, 2025. Each time you ask an AI chatbot to summarize a lengthy legal document or conjure up a cartoon squirrel wearing glasses, it sends a request to a data center and strains an increasingly scarce resource, water. The data centers that power artificial intelligence can consume immense amounts of water to cool the servers. And not to mention, in every community that's been stuck with a data center, go back after a couple of years and ask them how much their electricity bills have gone up. The data center doesn't pay for it. You do. So watch this. It's just showing you a daily checklist with clear solution. Here's a reminder note with a clear solution. Now, check out this greeting card message to illustrate the concept. It's just showing you, here's a fitness plan. People just ask the most mundane stuff and they're so dependent. But watch this. Right now, new data centers in areas where water stress is high or extremely high is in pink. Look at California. 17 data centers are in a state that will not let farmers use water. Look over here. Look at this. Look at Texas, Illinois, Virginia. What are you guys doing? Arizona, 26 data centers built or planned in high water stress areas since 2022. Louisiana is low or medium. We've got 2. Up here supposed to be the biggest data center ever built in the entirety of the world's coming to my state, and I am not happy about it. Bloomberg News found that about 2/3 of new data centers built or in development since 2022 are in places already gripped by high levels of water stress. While these facilities are popping up all over the country, 5 states alone account for 72% of the new centers in high stress areas. That is Texas, Arizona, California. Tell me that your elected officials have your best interest at heart. Tell me that now. Look at this map. This is insanity. Look at this. Look at the data centers. Tech giants are racing to expand with new and larger data centers to support AI, consuming more resources, including water. Folks, this is not okay. This is not okay. And if you aren't aware of what's happening before it happens, then you've got no say-so in it. That is the point of this video. By the way, YouTube does not pay me. If you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee or donate to my husband's ever expanding medical needs and expenses with his aneurysm, please look in the top of comments. It would be such a blessing. Do not forget to pick up our first edition, Growing Under a Poison Sky. We are working on our second book now. So I love you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think.